Hi folks, and welcome to Cooking According to Eddie, and today I'm going to show you how to make a basic tomato sauce which can be a base for all kinds of dishes. Okay, so we're going to go for an old-fashioned favourite, Bolognese. Now you can let the sauce rest for 24 hours and then you can quickly whip up some ingredients and put the sauce in, but to get the best results it's best if you take the sauce off the pan, off the hob, let it rest while you're doing this, and then leave the whole thing for 24 hours. But if you want to do like I certainly used to do, and freeze the sauce or leave it in the fridge and just sort of spoon it out, you can do this immediately. It just tastes better if you've let it rest. So, I've got this pan with a couple of cereal spoons worth of oil in. I can tell it's hot enough because it's sloshing around really easily. I'm going to start off with some mushrooms. Obviously, if you don't like mushrooms, don't add mushrooms. Get those cooking, and at the same time as the mushrooms are cooking, on a high heat, not massive, not like top level heat. In fact, I'm going to turn it down a bit, so around 10 on mine. While these are going, I'm also going to add in some bacon. Now, if you're vegan or vegetarian, then obviously you're not going to be adding bacon. But the bacon adds a certain saltiness, and if you use smoked bacon, a certain smokiness. It's 2 rashers that I've got here, cut into little strips. I just snipped it up with scissors. If you want to get that sort of saltiness and smokiness, you could consider using, for example, just a very small amount of smoked paprika, like really, really small amount, just a pinch. Or you can even buy liquid smoke if you want. But it depends. The one thing that you will want is a bit of saltiness though. And for that, if you can't use bacon, well, just use salt. But bacon is a classic part of Bolognese, and although it may not seem immediately important, actually it does make a big difference. So all I'm doing is cooking it until it fully changes colour. So if I flip this one over, you can see it's starting to brown just a little bit. There we go. As long as it goes that kind of pink from its original pink, that's fine, really. Now the fact it's turning brown quite so quickly tells me I've probably got the heat just a little bit too high. So I'm going to lift the pan off the heat. The residual heat's going to keep it cooking. There we go. Just going to take the edge off it. You can actually see the mushrooms are shrinking down at the same time. So I'm just going to turn the heat a little bit. And so when the mushrooms sort of shrink down and the bacon's changed colour, it really does only just need to change colour. As quick as we've been talking, all you need. That's when we'll put the mince in. Now this is only for meat mince. If you're going vegan or vegetarian and you're using corn mince, you want to add that in after you put the sauce in the pan. But I'll come back to that. But I'm using meat mince. There it goes. And you want to split it up nice and quickly. All you're trying to do is brown it. Now there's various schools of thought on this as to what's the best way of doing it. I personally, and it really is just my personal feeling, is I like to split it up as much as possible and keep it moving. So get it split, like that. There we go. You can see already it's browning on the outside. And we're going to give it just a few seconds to kind of work its way through. And then I'm going to start stirring it and start flipping it. So how do you know if your mince has gone off? Important question. Firstly, if it smells bad when you open the packet, just bin it. Don't take any risks with it. If it looks a bit brown, it might not be a problem. Mince does change colour slightly as it ages. It's not necessarily an issue. But when you start cooking it, lost a bit. When you start cooking it, if it smells vinegary, like really vinegary, noticeably so, then it's off, and you just need to bin it. It can be a real heart sink, particularly if you've chucked in some bacon and it's smelling good. But trust me, you do not want food poisoning. Now this mince, there's just a slight vinegariness coming off it because admittedly it's a bit old. But I've got a bit of experience now. I know this is going to be okay. It's not off, it's just old. And but I wouldn't want to give it any longer. If you can smell vinegar, don't bother. The best thing to do is as soon as you bought your mince, that is when you want to be cooking it. Obviously, I can't do that all the time, but that's what we're going for. Now, you can see as I'm swirling, I'm not pressing down hard. I'm just kind of swirling this round. It's breaking up. There's no bits of pink mince left. That tells me it's ready. So give it a shake, give it a spin. And it's time to add in some tomato sauce. Now we're going to add in tomato sauce before we add in our herbs. This is basil and oregano. No, nuts. This is basil and oregano. You can put whatever you like in. In fact, I've had some Sicilian Bolognese, which has got coriander in it. It's different. You can also use a mixture of pork and beef mince if you want to as well. But anyway, so let's put some sauce in. I'm going to ladle it out. What I'm looking for is like a good covering. So let's start with 4 ladles full and see how that goes. Mix all this in. If I was doing a chilli, by the way, I'd be doing the same thing, except I'd always include mushrooms, but I wouldn't be putting bacon in it necessarily, and instead I'd also add some kidney beans, just a tin of kidney beans. Drain them, make sure they're drained, and then rinse them. You don't want to use them straight out the tin. They're not always safe to eat straight out the tin. You'd also, before putting the sauce on, in fact before putting the mince in, you'd put some spices in. Put your chili spices. And chili spices include cumin, ginger, paprika, and I tend to start off with, if you're going for per person, I would start with half a teaspoon of each and then season it to flavour. Right, so you can see this is now got a nice covering. That to me looks like it's going to do well as a Bolognese sauce. So once that's up, let's bring the heat down, back down to about 4. We just want it to be simmering. And I'm going to add the herbs. I've gone for about 25 ml of herbs. That's half a shot glass for 2 of us. Because this is going to serve 2. In fact, it's going to go in the freezer as well. I can see that immediately. We're not going to eat this all tonight. And for a Bolognese, it always tastes better with a bit of sugar and just a little pinch of sugar. Literally just pinch your fingers together, pull out some sugar. Not very hygienic, but as long as it's your own sugar, doesn't matter, and cooking it will deal with it. And a bit of wine often tastes good as well. A way of getting around this, if you are either around Christmas time or you just happen to have it, which I do, is port. It's sweetened fortified wine. So just a little splash, not much more than that, is enough to really liven up the dish. Obviously, if you're a student, port may be hard to come by. I suppose it depends where you're studying. But the alcohol will boil off. You'll be left with this sweet, rich flavour. And it really, really does pick it up. So if you're doing a special occasion, if you're making dinner for someone that you want to impress, a little bit of port. In fact, I can smell, this is just from experience, I just need a tiny bit more. There we go, that'll do. And this is now pretty much ready to go. I'll keep seasoning it and just adding a little bit more. Don't forget, you can add seasoning, but you can't take it away. So I'm going to keep seasoning it as it goes, but I'm now going to leave this to sort of stew down for at least another 15 minutes. Low heat. I want to get it nice and thick. I don't want it to be watery. I hate it when you put bolognese on a plate and it just, this water comes flowing out of it. So let's let that mesh together. I'm gonna wipe down the surfaces because that's what I do. And we'll come back and see how this is getting on. So here it is, the bolognese. It's cooked down a little bit. See, it's got a nice texture to it. If I pull it away, there's a little bit of water left, so I'll probably give it another 5 minutes. But I want it to remain about this kind of consistency all the way. Now this will do one person for, what, 3, even 4 meals. So I'll give it another 5 minutes, stick it in the pot, let it cool naturally before putting it in the fridge. And that'll do us quite nicely. It's quite luxurious, actually, this one. It tastes, though I say myself, it's got a really rich flavour to it because of that port, because of that bacon. So, you know, a little treat for someone special. So, any questions, obviously let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you next time.